We told you in the summer we come back, we go away for a day, but things happen and then we return. Big things happening. DJ Bean, Pete Blackburn, Sean DePaz across the room for an emergency-ish. What chaos? Pete, let's just get right into it. Tell the folks what's on today's show.
Today on the show, we're going to talk about the JJ Peterka trade, and now it's kind of the Michael Kesselring trade. Sean's guy traded for my guy, and then I guess like maybe we can say, is Josh Doan now your guy?
No, I'm not the biggest Josh Doan guy.
I know,
Josh
Doan, we need to have
guy.
a guy for each person in this trade.
I mean, I'm a Josh Doan guy.
Okay.
That's right. That's
famously the first
true.
NIL athlete for PHNX. So I've met him. I've had long conversations with him before.
All right, so one of your guys,
For
two
one of my
your
guys. Guy in, guy out.
all right.
One
We'll
of my
talk
guys.
about that. What else will we talk about?
We'll also talk about the new CBA that apparently has a framework, and we'll just dive into some of that and kind of flesh out what that's going to look like. So that's the show. It's going to be a shorter show, but it's a big one.
Big one. Speaking of big one, the big one hits last night. JJ Peterka finally traded. Frank Saravalli had been saying forever, he's getting traded before the draft. And then there was a lot of, well, the Sabres don't think they want to. They don't want. And Saravalli was like, this guy wants out so badly. They're moving him. And they do last night in a very interesting trade. Peterka goes to the Utah Mammoth. 77 games played last season. He has 27 goals. He signs a 5 years times $7.7 million extension. We will get into that. And in return, the Buffalo Sabres receive Michael Kesselring, a 25-year-old, 6'5" right shot D who really established himself as a top four guy last season for the Mammoth. Or hockey club, I should say, became a little expendable because of all the guys that Utah has returning from injury. And Josh Doan, son of Shane Doan, 6'2" forward, who split time between Tucson, right? Mm-hmm. Tucson and Utah last year, AHL and NHL. But Sabres get big in this trade. Utah gets a star young forward in this trade. And I think the headline is, this deal goes down. Utah gets their guy without giving up that number 4 overall pick. I think it would have made a lot more sense to me if this trade was, say, Michael Kesselring in the 4th overall pick. But this gets done. We all know that GMBA is a legend of the game. Everyone says fleece when they see this. And I said, wow. You said, wow. You said, wow, with the big thing in the group text. I said, wow. I didn't say fleece. Just your initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think that people are crushing the Sabres for this. And to a certain extent, it's for good reason. But I also think there are two elements here that push me away from fleece. I think that people are overrating JJ Peterka a little bit as he currently stands. Like, he has room to improve and become a more complete player. But right now, I feel like people are overrating JJ Peterka just a little bit. And I also think that there are a lot of non-puck knowers who underestimate Michael Kesselring and what he'll be to the Buffalo Sabres. So for those two reasons, I think that it's closer to being a good deal than a lot of people are giving it credit for. But at the end of the day, it is a real big gamble for the Buffalo Sabres, and I think the value is off in favor of Utah a little bit.
It's another trade where the Sabres send out the best player in the deal.
Yeah.
And I am not opposed to giving up the best player in a deal. Sabres have more good players today than they had yesterday, but it's burned them so many times in the past. We're burying the lead here. Sean DePaz, your favorite player on the Buffalo Sabres, got traded for the person you hyped before I ever even heard of the guy, Josh Doan, and I'm only kind of kidding there. How pretzelified is your beautiful American brain?
Quite. I was like floored last night. I didn't know how to react. Not because like I think I said like earlier yesterday I didn't think they were going to trade JJ ultimately. So I was a little caught off guard. But yeah, I mean it's pretzelified is a good way to put it, because I am very happy that my as I like to call them, my team who stepped up got better. And so it's a very mixed feeling, but I'm happy that like this saga, like another disgruntled player who wants out, I'm happy it's over.
There are like 50 thoughts that we are going to run through on this trade, but let's begin with the Utah angle, because Utah did get the biggest star in the trade. They add him, as I said, without giving up the 4th overall pick. So on Friday, they now have the opportunity to add another young player to a group of very good young players, or they can still flip that pick for somebody. And you know that GMBA loves to make trades. I keep saying GMBA. It's very un-New York Times of me. Let me first say Bill Armstrong, and now on subsequent mentions, I can call him Mr. Armstrong. But Mr. Armstrong loves to make moves and take the young defensemen that they have out of it, because they do have a lot of young defensemen. JJ Peterka, who is 23 years young and signed up for the next 5 years, is now added to a young forward group in Utah that already consists of Dylan Guenther, who's 20 years old and had 27 goals last season, is beginning an 8-year deal. Logan Cooley, 21 years old, 65 points last season. Barrett Hayton, 25 years old, 20 goals last season. Don't forget Daniil Boot is coming in this year. He's just signed his entry-level deal. He's an absolute giant who just won over in the KHL. And now, yes, JJ Peterka added to that. This team is brimming with young, like star level forwards. Watch the hell out for the Utah Mammoth.
A lot of skill, a lot of talent, offensive firepower. I do worry about like they don't have a ton of size or grit up front. And Peterka is not going to bring that. I do think he's going to be an awesome fit in Utah in terms of adding another fun player to that mix. They're going to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the NHL next year, I believe.
Now, they lose Michael Kesselring, and Pete is the chief Michael Kesselring person on the planet. But I think just from watching Utah, we learned last year, and a lot of it was due to injury, but Michael Kesselring had to step up, had to play top 4 minutes, but established himself as a top 4 defenseman. So on the Buffalo side of it, they are getting someone who's going to make Owen Power, I think, so much better. And that's great for them as they need to figure out their own shit with what they're going to do with Bo Byram. But for Utah, absolutely can afford to lose him.
Yes,
like,
especially with Simishev coming up. You mentioned Daniil Boot. I mean, Simishev's a left shot, but like they have a wealth of talent in that kind of player on the blue line.
The big thing is that Durzi's back for a full season.
Right.
Marino's back for a full season. You'd love to have Michael Kesselring, but Michael Kesselring is not a third pairing defenseman anymore. Correct. So like let him grow, give him a chance to thrive. And yes, their defense now, Mikhail Sergachev, left shot, Durzi, right shot, Marino, right shot, Oli Mata, don't forget about, Simishev coming in, left shot, and Simishev, like this team has been excited about this guy for a while. They re-signed Ian Cole, you can't forget.
Sick.
And Valimaki, like this is a very good roster that has the 4th overall pick. So big get. I want to hit the contract for Peterka. It's 5 years. It's $7.7 million annually. That only buys out 1 year of free agency. And he's going to now hit unrestricted free agency at 28 years old. I know that he didn't want to be in Buffalo. He didn't love it. There was talk that he wanted to be in a bigger city, which we can refute now that he goes to Salt Lake City. I know that people in Buffalo were losing their minds over that, but
most people in Buffalo haven't been to Salt Lake City.
What do you mean by that?
I think
you feel like Salt Lake City's better than Buffalo.
Yeah,
I think
so.
If the argument is he wanted to play in a bigger market, mission
specifically,
failed.
but Utah kind of feels like a bigger market to me. Feels like one than Buffalo does.
Maybe,
and he's German. Like his definition of like big city, like what he's looking for in that sense, might be a little different
now,
than America.
This is how we can pivot the conversation to the Sabres, because this is a player who A, did not want to be in Buffalo, B, is clearly trying to maximize his value, which great for him. It always hurts when the Sabres send out a star player, but this to me makes more sense. Unfortunately for the Sabres, all of the times they send out a star player, it kind of makes sense because he didn't work out here. He's demanding a trade. He wears a C and is going to absolutely crater this franchise if you don't get rid of him right now. And in this case, 23 years old, unhappy. As we find out once he signs his next deal, that he's kind of all about the money, which is absolutely great. That's fine. But it makes it make a little more sense to me that they got rid of him. Because my thing always, Sean, with the Sabres in Peterka was he's 23 years old. If he's unhappy, just like be good by the time he hits his prime, which should not be hard. You have like 3 years to just get a little better. He's going to keep getting better, and then you'll all be on this run together. But now I kind of get why it's over there.
Yeah, I mean, my pushback to like the waiting thing, I guess, is like you're probably not going to get better if the players on the team don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. So like at a certain point, you have to move on. It's unfortunate that this is like just the next chapter in a long string of the Sabres doing this, as you alluded to. But yeah, it's clear that the franchise needs to turn a page, and they have for a while. So I am fine with their strategy being, if you don't want to be here, get the fuck out. We have to set a culture.
The culture might be the reason why he doesn't want to be there, and that's my problem. That's the thing that I keep circling around, is that like they did not want to trade this guy. They did not, and they kept saying it over and over again. He signs a deal immediately arriving to Utah, and what does that say? Like that, I feel like that is a damnation on Buffalo. That this guy is 23 years old. Kind of fits into their timeline, should want to be there, but he's just the latest in a long line of players who have been shipped out of Buffalo after being drafted and developed and kind of grown into a core role, but then they have to trade them for whatever reason. And that to me is like, there's something in the water there that's a problem. It's a product of dysfunction.
You mentioned the drafting and developing thing. I'm intentionally going to ask you this question so I can watch Sean's face as you answer it. He's the 34th overall pick. They take him in the second round. They do everything right. Like this, JJ Peterka is an NHL draft success story. A bad team with a high pick in the 2020 draft takes a kid out of Germany, and he is an absolute star. Somebody who, if there were a redraft, goes probably first, second, third, fourth, fifth in any sort of, like, this is a win. This is something, the Buffalo Sabres did something to which other teams should aspire, yet it ends the same way it always does with the Sabres. How can this, Pete, be the last time this happens in Buffalo?
Well, I mean, number one, win. That winning creates a positive environment and a positive culture. But also, like, having a good structure in the organization, good facilities, good leadership, good culture, all of that. Like, feed your players' souls when you draft them and develop them. That keeps them happy. Winning keeps them happy. All of that is missing in Buffalo.
The biggest thing is winning.
Yeah.
The big, like, just, it's Stanley when he's negotiating his new contract with Michael, or when he's thinking of leaving, and he's like, is there anything, money? Is there anything that we could, money? Like, it's replace money with winning, even though JJ Peterka just went and got money and he's setting himself up to get a lot more money. This has to be the last time. I don't think it's going to be the last time, but this fucking has to be the last time. I need it for my Sabres people.
Winning creates culture. Culture creates winning.
Ooh, yes.
So that's what I was going to say.
And they don't have either. They're not doing either.
It's like you talked about, like, it being a damnation on the Sabres. The Sabres have been, like, so deep into hell of the last decade that, like, at this point, it's like, I don't think you can damn the Sabres anymore. We know what they are. So, like, this happening is not surprising. And I think, like I said, they're at a point where they need to just, like, earlier on, I think there were beds that they made, but, like, at this point, they need to just cut ties with these kinds of players so they can change that culture. Because I think that changing the culture, in theory, although the Sabres haven't done either of much over the last decade, should be easier to change than winning.
I'd like to apologize. I left T. Ginla's name off the list of great young forwards that Utah has. let's talk about the package. They get Michael Kesselring, who, as I said, I think we all agree is like you pair him with Owen Power, and suddenly you have fewer Owen Power problems. You're not supposed to have any Owen Power problems. But
I don't know. I think Sabres fans are going to have a time with that pairing. I don't think these are either like particularly defensively responsible players.
Kesselring?
Yeah, like
Kesselring is.
I mean,
Kesselring will
Kessel,
help.
but yeah, part of Kessel, like this, there's a large chunk of last season where Kesselring was basically not, like the second half of last season where Kesselring was basically not an NHL player and is like, can be an adventure on the blue line. Like I was talking to PD and Craig last night, and they obviously know him very well. And like one of the things they said is like he makes a lot of mental mistakes, and that is not necessarily, I wouldn't say mental mistakes are the problem with Owen Power, but he can get pushed around a little bit, and I just feel like that has the potential. It can be very exciting at times. Like they are two very skilled players, but can also be will be a very frustrating experience at points. This season.
I think his job there is going to be like kind of hang back, be the responsible one there. Let that guy do the stuff.
I mean, we're relying on a.
But
20,
Kesselring can do the stuff. There's a clip going around.
That's
there
what I was gonna say.
of him absolutely murdering JJ Peterka.
Like we're relying on a 25-year-old who has just spent really his first season in the NHL to be the reason that our $8 million first overall draft pick can be a reasonable NHL player. It's not encouraging. Like I still think ideally they add another right shot D-man. I don't think that changed that pairing in particular, but like I like Michael Kesselring. I think it fills a hole, but I am not confident that is going to be like a tremendous second pairing. Like I think it is going to take some time before it gets to a deep pair that you can fully trust.
Okay, so say they're the idiots who go out and sign Aaron Ekblad. Then Michael Kesselring maybe is playing on your first pairing with Rasmus Dahlin, which will be positively awesome because Rasmus Dahlin is there with a defenseman we've heard of.
I just am not that confident in Michael Kesselring yet. Like I like him. If Michael Kesselring is playing on our first D pair, the team is in trouble.
Okay, well, Kesselring, it seems, was the guy that they wanted, and we'll find out what Doan is. I worry that Doan, like if Doan's a good NHL player, this trade is fine.
Doan to me is a much more
Sure thing.
known entity. Like he's not. I don't think doesn't have nearly the ceiling Michael Kesselring is. Like he was a borderline NHL player, bottom six player, but I think he plays his role very well. And he's a fucking Doan. Like he is the most
Dog.
He's like the nicest, most professional, like hardworking kid I have ever met. So like, I think that is like you know what you're getting there, and you know what he's going to be able to do for you.
Culture thing though, like dog.
Like he seems like the kind of player that might be impervious to the Sabres' poison. Because I mean, it's not like his dad did a whole lot of winning. Like he knows what losing is like.
He's got losing in his blood.
That's right.
To a certain extent. I mean, Shane Doan was good. Shane Doan was good, but I think he knows more of the process of like, you're not going to win every day immediately.
Now, let's discuss the value of this because someone sent a tweet to me last night, and I was like, yeah, I understand. Because I was saying, like, I don't hate this trade for the Sabres. And someone tweeted at me, I don't know if you have it, Sean, that, let me see. Kesselring and Doan are the type of players that the Sabres should be targeting, but giving up JJ for them is bad. I would get where a Sabres fan is coming from there.
I would take a bad out of there. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's
you
great.
shouldn't have to trade JJ Peterka to get those guys.
And that's where the
value's off.
Like one of my big takeaways from this is that it makes it clearer what else the Sabres have to do. Like they clearly now need to add a top six forward, whether that's through free agency or trading Bo Byram. But if they trade Bo Byram, then they also have to add a right shot D-man. So like it's clear that those are like the two things they need to do.
Michael Russo had this in The Athletic that they turned down Marco Rossi plus for JJ Peterka. So when I say that seemingly Kesselring was their guy here, or maybe Doan was their guy, I would assume that Kesselring is their guy. But
size was their guy.
Yes, being big was their guy. The Wild offered, and this is from Michael Russo in The Athletic, the Wild offered Marco Rossi as the starting point in any package and were willing to include another roster player and or prospects and picks, but the Sabres weren't interested in adding another undersized forward, even though Rossi was so blah, 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 blah. Now, this is where it gets tough for me because the Sabres clearly aren't done, as you said. They have Bo Byram to trade. They have the 9th overall pick that they can potentially trade.
Or keep. I don't think it's going to go well if they do, but I don't think it's a guarantee they trade him.
They've got Konstas Hellenius on the way, but he's no giant himself. He's, I think, 5'10", 5'11", or something like that. So maybe I don't know what they do with that. But if they're making a trade, Rossi was who I was thinking before I saw this report, but seemingly they don't want Marco Rossi. Okay, take him out of there. Elias Pettersson. The Canucks are apparently very bullish on Bo Byram, which would make sense because they need a young defenseman, maybe, to build around going forward. And then the third one, here's the most exciting one. What about Jordan Kyrou?
Yeah, I've seen that talked about. The Rossi thing is that's going to hurt for a while. I think because one of the things we talked about is I understand if generally you want size, but I think Rossi was the Sabres' first line is the perfect place to put a player like Marco Rossi. We have
See, I'm not sure if that Marco Rossi is a first-line center.
Pete hates Marco Rossi.
I don't hate him. I just don't know if he's... I don't know if I'm sold on him being a first-line center on a good team.
I think he would be... That's fine. The Sabres aren't good.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a first-line center on the Sabres. And regardless, I think that's a good spot for him, alongside a massive play-driving wing. I know Tage plays center, but he was better last year on the wing. So, and the fact that was just the start of the package, there was more coming.
So, but what it sounded like was that there was more in terms of assets,
yes,
draft capital or prospect. And what I'm gathering from this trade and also the Savoy trade last year, the Sabres seemingly want to have more sure things in their organization. And whether that meant Kesselring and Doan gives them 2 NHL roster players for JJ Peterka, whether the value is not fully there, they get 2 good players who they can insert immediately and become a better, not necessarily a better team
more well-rounded
tomorrow, because I think they're a worse team today than they were yesterday.
I'll even push back on that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. But I think that they have an additional player that they know is factoring into their lineup today than they did yesterday. And whether that's right or wrong, I think that's what they value right now. They want NHL players.
And I don't know how you guys fell on it, but I liked the Savoy trade last summer.
I mean, it certainly turned out well. And I mean, that was something that I saw Sabres fans
It's hard to say that. It's kind of the same thing with this deal where it's it could age really well, but it also could age very poorly.
I think it turned out well for ultimately, even if Savoy is a good player, it wouldn't have mattered for the Sabres because they would have been past whatever this window is. They would have probably had to blow it up. So in the immediacy for what the Sabres are, I think it was good. And I thought that was one thing I saw Sabres fans talking about was ultimately we're going to have to judge this on our own. It ultimately that trade was good for the Buffalo Sabres. Mm-hmm. It made them a better team, even if ultimately 10, 15 years down the line they've lost the trade. So, the thing that gets me is that even if it makes the Sabres better, it makes them more vulnerable at the things they were bad at, which namely is the power play. They were a really good 5-on-5 team. They were terrible on special teams. And now you took one of your power play goal scorers off the team with no clear replacement yet. So that worries me as the Buffalo Sabres. But the offseason's not over. This team has a lot of money, and I think a lot of Sabres fans viewed this immediately as Terry Pegula being cheap. But I am an eternal optimist. Maybe they're gearing up to wildly overpay for somebody because that's what they have to do to get them.
It does. I mean, I did see that it does save them so much money. So if you are a Terry Pegula's cheap guy and you look at that and you go from what do they make next year combined? I think 2.5 under the. But you're trading young players for young players.
But what are they going to make in a few years?
Yeah.
You get 1 year of Kesselring on his current deal, and I don't know what Doan's situation is, but it might be the same thing.
Yeah, this would be his 3rd year of his entry-level contract.
Okay. I think those are still 2 players that are in manageable positions. I mean, who knows what'll happen this year, but I think they'll be able to manage those contracts. But again, it ultimately depends on what you do with the rest of it. They're clearly, if the season starts today and they haven't made any more moves, this is a failure. The front office needs to be cleared out. Everything needs to change. So,
but Byram's going to be gone.
In theory, yeah, you would think. I would hopefully, and we'll see what that means. Because if it means like a bottom 6 forward and a bottom 6 or a bottom 4 D man, like that's not good. The team's not better.
Yeah, like are they just going to keep trading these guys for like 80 cents on the dollar?
That's what they did.
Just like filling out their roster with, I don't want to say like mid players, but players that maybe are punching above their weight class. I do wonder if they find a way to package Byram with the 9th pick.
Yeah, so
because
that's where I'm thinking Kyrou.
Because the 9th pick to me is like, well, if they don't want these future assets so bad that they're like not going to do a Marco Rossi trade, why do they want the 9th pick?
And that's the other thing I was going to say about the Rossi trade is that, like, I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts here. I obviously have reason based on the last few years to doubt Kevin Adams. Like, just because, like, if you can get Marco Rossi and picks, it doesn't mean you have to make those picks. Like, it just gives you more assets to flip in a different trade, potentially. And obviously, like, that's not a guarantee, so you could end up just having those picks. But, like, I don't know. Like, I think looking at a potential Marco Rossi trade as simply a player that you, an undersized player, whatever, and picks that you don't need is a bad way to look at it, because you could use those picks for something other than just drafting a prospect.
Would you, if let's say Roger McQueen falls, the big 6'5" center, let's say that he falls a little bit in the draft and you're the Sabres, do you completely rule out the idea that you're still getting young guys and that you're still kind of acting like you're in a rebuild? Because part of that trade last night did make me think the Sabres want to be done with their rebuild, but the world maybe keeps telling them that you're not done rebuilding. And they got older by getting Kesselring for Peterka, but that's still a kind of rebuild-ish type of move, having to trade off your 23-year-old star before he gets his big contract. Say a McQueen is there at 5 or 6 or something and you're at 9. Do you want to move up, or do you want to get it out of your head that you're still living in that world?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Like, ultimately, I don't think anyone they draft in this draft, unless they're moving up to get like Schaefer or Misa, is going to ultimately. What's that?
Good luck.
Exactly. Like, it's going to.
I want Misa on this. I've wanted Misa on the Sabres since fucking day one.
Like, ultimately, I don't think it's going to factor into their goals of winning a Stanley Cup. So like,
I think maybe baby steps.
Yeah, I don't think Tage Thompson's going to factor into their goals of winning a Stanley Cup. But yeah, it ultimately won't matter to me. I don't want them to move up and set, like, I guess if it's like later draft picks and it's whatever, I certainly don't want them like losing players off their current roster to move up in the draft. So like, yeah, ultimately I don't really care too much what they do at the draft as long as they're not losing assets.
We do have a statement from Kevin Adams.
Give it to me.
It said, one of our priorities as we work through this offseason, making our team more competitive and tougher to play against. The additions of Michael and Josh will help us tremendously in both those categories, and I am excited to see them in Sabres uniforms soon. Michael fits the mold of a right-handed defenseman we've been looking for, and we are thrilled he brings both size and compete. We believe he will help add balance to our blue line while elevating the rest of the D-core. Josh is a player that has shown the ability to win at multiple levels and brings great leadership pedigree to our organization. He's a strong two-way player who we believe will be able to provide versatility to our group.
What's missing from that?
Statement.
What is missing from that?
Any mention of JJ Peterka
Correct.
or whatever he did or did not bring to the Buffalo Sabres. That is a big fuck you on the way out the door.
Yeah.
At least in my perception.
Which I don't have a problem with. Like, I don't have a problem if our GM wants to get a little gritty. It'd be the first time somebody in the franchise did.
Again,
like,
but it's like, why did he want out? And that's to me, and that's why I understand all of the frustrations that come from the Buffalo Sabres. Their fan base is just like, how many times are you putting yourself through drafting and developing and seeing a player like kind of endear themselves to you, only to have to trade them for less than perceived value because whatever isn't there in Buffalo has driven them away. And that to me is like, it's just got to be so exhausting and so frustrating to have to continuously go through that.
I do think part of it like lies at JJ Peterka's feet. Like, there have been better young players who have been through worse with this team and have stuck with it.
I definitely agree with that.
So like, I by no means, like, I am a huge player empowerment guy. Like, I don't by any means feel like somebody is obligated to waste prime parts of their career on a franchise that they don't think is going anywhere. But like, I think, yeah, if there are other guys that are currently in that locker room who have stuck around through worse, like, I understand Kevin Adams in that front office being like, you know what, go fuck yourself. You're a 23-year-old kid and you don't have that cachet yet. So if you want out, bon voyage.
Okay, last thing on this. Does this change Utah's plans in free agency? Because they still do have money. We have thought, and the little birdie told us, to link Brad Marchand to them. This, to me, kind of doesn't totally take them out of the Brad Marchand business, but at least for me, moves them more into the John Tavares business.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand that. They did just like acquire a premier winger, so I think that maybe there's less of an appetite to go out and get another one. But also, like when I think about Brad Marchand and what he would bring to the Mammoth, again, it goes back to a lot of these players lack sort of that grit or the other elements outside of high skill offensive production.
I mean, they're just young, right?
You need more of that experience. You need more of that sandpaper. You need more of dynamic elements that you can bring to this lineup. And I think Brad Marchand would still fit those gaps.
Yeah, they have $14.98 million in cap space, and after next season, they will need to pay Logan Cooley, and Barrett Hayton's up after another year after that. So they've got, we've talked about it before. They're one of those teams that like their cap space number really isn't their cap space number, because it's not like, oh, with this cap space, you can go sign someone to a 7-year deal at huge money, because in 3 years, you're going to need that guy's money to pay Logan Cooley or whoever it may be. But I think they're still very much in the business of going after an aging veteran forward for like 2 or 3 years.
I just wonder how far GMBA is willing to go with small players. Like, I know,
talking about Marchand?
Yeah, like I know he's different. He obviously adds stuff to the team, but like presumably you still have him playing on like a second or third line, and
he'd also teach.
I mean,
what better example for young players though,
right,
to learn that you are not limited by your height.
Right, you don't have to play small.
Yeah, I don't know if Logan Cooley or Dylan Guenther has that in their bag necessarily.
If he makes Logan Cooley into an asshole, he will be a 0th ballot Hall of Famer. He just, as soon as he is retired, PK Subban style, his number is retired immediately throughout the entire league.
I'd like to see it.
That's what I do if I'm the league.
I did say
here's my thought on the Josh Doan thing is, I wonder if there was any part of them that was like, get Josh Doan out of here. We are no longer the Arizona Coyotes.
Well,
I don't think that that's actually true, but it did cross my mind.
Wish did tweet that. He was like, this is the biggest, like, we're not in Arizona anymore sign since changing the name. And like, I do wonder, I was thinking about that last night. Like, if you could give GMBA a truth serum, like, there's no way. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have traded Josh Doan in Arizona. It would have been a lot harder. And so I wonder if there was a sense of freedom being like, these people aren't connected to him the way that they were in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. It happens though. I mean, like the Bruins traded Ryan Donato, which Ted Donato is not Shane Doan, but still, that was like when they drafted him, everyone was like, ugh, Nepo pick, great. And then they saw what he did at World Juniors, and like Boston fans were obsessed. It's easy to forget that for a while, people were like, they got Charlie McAvoy and Ryan Donato coming. This is the future. And then they just fucking trade him. And it's like, oh, well, fuck me.
It didn't help in Arizona, too, that the team was playing in an arena that Josh Doan basically built. Like, it was a brand new hockey arena that doesn't exist without Josh Doan kind of being the face of that program. So it was a lot. Like, I have to imagine it was a lot easier to get rid of him in this circumstance.
I don't think this is the last thing we react to from the Utah Mammoth, and I definitely don't think it's the last thing we react to from the Buffalo Sabres. And if it is,
better not be.
Yeah,
big shame,
dude. If it is, might be boycott season. I don't know if I can swallow that. I will quietly watch the games and not talk about them.
Okay,
pretend I didn't.
Let's talk about the other thing. from Frank Saravalli, who has just been schmurdering it with these breaking news pieces. The NHL and NHLPA are preparing to announce the framework of a new CBA on Friday ahead of the NHL draft, an unprecedented early extension. I think we all knew this was coming because of how casually people like Frank and Elliot Friedman were talking about the CBA. There was minimal panic about this, and we felt tipped off to it when Gary Bettman freaked out on TNT about the tax thing.
Yeah, you said that.
I was like, the CBA's done.
Yeah, you were like,
the CBA's done, and he's saying, don't
make us do work.
Don't make us go back and do it. Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Because if I get a call from Marty Walsh about this, and now we have to get back to work on this, and now it's, okay, well, we'll do this. If you give us this, then we're fucking back to square one. That freak out was all about the CBA. Biz, again, hashtag, Biz was right. The tax thing is a thing, but it's not that big a thing. But we have a CBA seemingly coming. And Sean, do you have the full screen? Here is from Frank's piece on Daily Faceoff, which I demand everybody check out. The bullet points. The NHL is going to move to an 84-game regular season starting in 2026-27. Preseason is going to be shortened. So 4 games will probably be played per team. That's per Frank. And players with 100-plus career games can only play in a maximum of 2 preseason games. 84 games. We'll go through these beat by beat in a second, but max contracts are reduced by 1 year. So if you're re-signing with your team, it's 7 years. It used to be 8, or it is 8. It'll be 6 years for free agents. It's 7 right now. This summer will be the last summer that can go down. So McDavid is a big person we talk about there. He can sign an 8-year deal, but starting next summer, no. The LTIR loophole will be closed as they do a bunch of stuff with the salary cap. There's going to be more stringent contractual limitations. Headline there, deferred salary will be outlawed. You saw that it's happened quite a bit. Frank Vetrano, famously the Shohei Ohtani of the NHL. Let's see, blah, blah. Yes. The revenue split is going to stay 50-50 between the owners and the players. There's going to be a big increase, maybe even double, of the playoff bonus pool fund. That's great. There's going to be a full-time emergency backup goalie. So that's kind of a bummer.
It's kind of lame.
No more fun e-bugs.
Yeah.
There's going to be like a traveling e-bug.
Yeah, I feel like it'll still be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's still going to be a guy that we don't really know about. And this is a fun one.
Wonder if it's a traveling e-bug or just like a
arena e-bug?
Determined arena.
Because that's what it is
e-bug.
now, right?
Yeah.
There has to be one for both teams.
Yeah.
And no more dress codes for arriving and departing games. That's an interesting one.
That's a good one for us.
That's very good for
Amarillo.
us.
I don't know if I love it. Like, I don't truly
love it.
care about it at the end of the day, but like it's good for business for us.
I love it. And Lula Morello has to be pissed.
You can come back to us, Sean. My biggest one there is obviously the LTI loophole being closed is going to shorten our episodes to about 22 minutes in the postseason.
What happens to this Stanley Cup if there's no Evander Kane and no Matthew Tkachuk?
I mean,
Gotta think that favors the Florida Panthers.
It's not no Matthew Tkachuk. It's no Seth Jones. No Seth Jones.
Well, yeah, I guess,
Brad
Yes.
Marchand.
Like, I do not take this as crying, coping, or whatever. We have been this whole show has been very factual about like what the Oilers did with Evander Kane, what the Panthers did. Like after this year's Panthers team, if you weren't going to address the LTIR loophole, you can't ever address it because they were significantly over. And just like heaping guys onto their roster, star players, and it worked amazingly. And I'll remind everybody, it was fucking legal.
Yeah.
So you can't really be mad at them. You can be mad that it needed to change.
Right.
But now it's changing.
I really don't care about it. Like it's never truly bothered me. Like when the Blackhawks did it, when the Lightning did it, when Vegas did it, when Florida did it. It doesn't fully bother me, but I am excited by the prospect of not having to fucking talk about it.
It bothered me that people who I didn't know, so that this is a me problem, but it bothered me that every time it happened, people acted like it was the first time it had happened.
Yeah.
And the Lightning was, I remember hammering that like the Blackhawks just did it when people were freaking out about the Lightning. And then people freaked out about the Golden Knights. And it was like, The Lightning just did it. Like
You do it.
And also, like, the losing teams do it.
Yeah.
Granted, it seemingly is always the team that wins the cup that does it the most. Like the Lightning won the cup doing it the most. The Blackhawks won the cup doing it the most. Other teams, though, have done it. They just haven't won the Stanley Cup. Like the Oilers just did it.
Yeah.
They lost the Stanley Cup. The Panthers did it egregiously. They won the Stanley Cup, so we talk about that.
My thing is like fairness. As long as everybody's playing on the same playing field, and I've mentioned this before, like obviously it only mattered so much, especially for the Florida Panthers because they were a 3 seed, right? And they ended up third in their division. But like you do, in theory, have to sacrifice regular season games and then, again, in theory, make your path to the Stanley Cup harder. So it's not like it was just fucking free money. There was even if minor, a trade-off for it. But I agree. I'm glad it doesn't have to be a topic of conversation. That's the same thing with the tax thing. It's like I would fix it just so we don't have to talk about it anymore.
They do need to do something about, I don't know if this will be in there, but I think there needs to be an Ekblad rule.
That if you take steroids?
Where if a player is suspended, you can't exceed the salary cap by that. You can't act like that player is injured. That player did something, broke a rule. The team shouldn't be fined for it or anything, but the team shouldn't be able to say, okay, well then here's Brad. That's where Brad Marchand's money will be.
Did Ekblad count towards the cap when suspended?
No. Ekblad, and he got suspended right after the deadline. So you could say that they didn't know, but a lot of people theorize the Panthers thought maybe they were going to be without a player for the rest of the regular season and said, maybe we might have some money to do this. So
I mean, if that is the case, though, the NHL needs to be better about how they operate their drug testing program. Like you can't give teams that kind of information and let them prepare for it like that.
Oh, maybe they just saw that he'd been taking steroids out in the open. They're like, they're popping him one of these days. Let's just trade for Brad Marchand.
Sam Bennett
walked without his shirt on.
So, yeah.
Sam Bennett had to walk into Zito's office being like, I have a feeling we're going to be without Aaron here for a little bit.
Because Sam Bennett was like, I've been secretly injecting Aaron Ekblad.
to get him off this fucking thing.
I think we're still skipping the most controversial one, and we'll get to that in a second, but what do we think of shortening the max contracts?
I think that's weird.
I think it's weird too because I want there to be more 8-year deals. I like there being 8-year deals. It definitely changes. And our dear friend Nikita Zadorov, I can't remember if he said this on the show or off the show. So if we're telling tales out of school, I apologize. It was on the show that he was like, when guys' entry-level deals expire and they get these like huge 8-year deals, the veterans are looking around like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why'd they get all that fucking... Like, I've been busting my balls for X amount of years. So that... It's not going to be over. Guys are still going to get 7-year deals, but I liked the strategy in trying to figure out, do I go 8 years with this guy? Do I way overpay this guy for the next few years in hopes that in years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this thing's going to be a bargain? Like, I don't want the last Draisaitl contract. I don't want things like that to not happen anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, like from a player perspective, especially with the rising cap steadily year over year, like I do wonder if that was like an ask where it's just maybe you want these contracts to run out quicker because the cap will be growing and then you have a sooner opportunity to capitalize on that.
That absolutely is the reasoning. And I think that we are going to see more short-term deals. I think that the rumor is that Evan Bouchard's going to go like 4 years times 10. The rumor is that, I know that people disagree on this. I think Frank Saravalli has said like McDavid's going to be 8. Don't listen to the other stuff. But a lot of people, and I'm sorry if I put words in Frank's mouth, but I believe he was the one who reported that. A lot of people are saying like, shouldn't people follow the Austin Matthews model and go 3-4 years? Austin Matthews has been pointed to as the guy of like, here's how you do it if you want to fucking lose. But if you want to make money, and we care about player empowerment.
For the Leafs.
Yeah, if you want to like not win Stanley Cups and always make sure you're eating up as much possible from your team's cap. Like there's never a year on the Leafs cap where Austin Matthews is a bargain, and that's good strategy from him. That's making sure he makes as much money as he can. But That's going to be gone now if these are shorter term deals. So very, very interesting. I also want there to be more incentive for a player to stay with their own team. And
Yeah, right.
I think Zach Phillips said this on the sheet, which is he wanted it to be, if you're re-signing, it's 8. If you're a free agent, it's 6. That, I think, gets more guys to stay with their own teams, especially guys as we embrace the kind of Yanni Gord, Trent Frederick NHL, where the 8-year deals are going to be more for respectfully bad players than good
Yeah, but
players.
offering 2 more years to stay is going to really hurt the drama of free agency. And
I don't think
we got a show to do, brother.
I think that would be bad
maybe
for the
that's not
league.
the most important thing, but like if you are trying to grow the league and generate buzz and interest, like the more signings and things that you can have happening, like I think it's a good thing to keep guys and keep players on teams and not have to force them to leave. But also you want to be able to generate buzz.
Connor McDavid going to free agency would be so much better for the league than Connor McDavid staying in Edmonton. And like I think, or not even he could stay in Edmonton, but at least have the horse and pony show of him taking on suitors, whatever. Like I think the drama, honestly, like kind of is the most important part of it. Like the league needs, I think having exciting free agency cycles is good for the league.
The league seemingly is being tighter on what the cap is. And Jeff Merrick has said to take the training wheels off the cap, let the cap evolve as the league has evolved. But it seems that the league is staying with a hard cap. I have never been more in favor of that than I am right now, just given the past week, what we've seen in the NBA, who does not have a
fucking second.
The NBA does not have a hard cap. The NHL does have a hard cap. And during the NBA lockout, I had NBA people texting me being like, hey, explain the hard cap to me. Is it as simple as it looks? And I would just be like, if you have 30 seconds, I can explain the cap to you. It's so easy. Everybody kind of is playing by the same rules. And if you don't follow the NBA has a soft cap, and they basically just have thresholds above the cap where can't spend above this amount, like the NHL, except you can spend above that amount. But if you go above that amount, then you're limited in what you can do with your roster. And if you go above this other amount, what's it called, Pete?
Second apron.
The second apron, then
you're going to prison.
You are basically given the death penalty. Like you can't do anything, and they're doing it to avoid super teams. Players saying, "Hey, let's all go to the same team, and we'll go in free agency, and we'll sign." And like basically what happened with LeBron and the Heatles. Here's the problem: like as soon as this second apron thing started, a team, the Boston Celtics, just drafted really, really good players because they had a bunch of high draft picks from a trade they had made, and now they have to sell off all these pieces because they just have good players who are making the money that the CBA says they should be making. And it's such a headache. And think of it as, I don't know, like the Avalanche or the Oilers or whatever, like teams that just have good players because they have good players now suddenly would have to throw men overboard. I don't want that happening in the NHL.
No, I don't. I
like
think you should need a finance degree or whatever to be able to understand how the cap works.
And I think that I've learned from following both of these sports pretty closely, there's not going to be a perfect situation in the cap. I think that you just make it as across the board for everybody as possible and make the goal, get the best players you can, make the money work. And if you can't make the money work, you will not be the first person to say, damn, sorry, Nazem Kadri, we're not going to re-sign you.
And then it ruins their franchise.
And then it absolutely ruins their franchise.
Only thing I will say, I 100% agree that how complicated the NBA salary cap structure is annoying. And like, I never want that. But I do think the effects of it are good. Like, I think it ultimately is good to have players moving around and keeping that excitement. Like, that's why Kevin Durant, part of why Kevin Durant has to leave. And like, the Suns signed Kevin Durant and it didn't instantly make them the best team in the league. And I think I think it is good to have players moving around and keeping things fresh, because it also makes dynasties far more impressive if you manage to pull it off.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the NBA does shuffle chairs more.
There's nothing. No one does drama like the NBA.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
but-
NBA free agency, like July in the NBA is unbelievable. But as an NBA fan, when I see that, I'm usually not like, damn, I wish the NHL had this. I think sometimes I think,
No.
I wish they had a little more stuff like this. Like I liked when Stamkos
Yeah.
was a free agent. I
Right.
liked when
I don't want it to be as far as the
people
NBA.
were wondering
yeah.
like where PK Subban was going to get traded, things like that. But I don't want it to go that far.
Yeah, and I don't like the element of having to punish teams that have done it the right way and
Yes.
forcing them to break it up, because like when you talk about, as a sports fan, these certain eras where a team put together a really great team and sort of defined an era or defined a handful of years, like that's a benefit to the league, and people remember that, and it has like lasting impact and legacy. Like when you think about like the Detroit Red Wings and what they had for a long time, and like even when I think about the
Granted,
NBA,
that was pre-cap.
no, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you want to be able to have a structure in place that allows teams to have sustained success if they do it the right way.
Yeah,
and like even when I think about like the super team element of the NBA, and like the Golden State Warriors, for all intents and purposes, did it the right way. They drafted these players like a Steph, a Draymond, a Clay, and they were able to keep them together for a long period of time. And like, as a non-basketball diehard, when they had their runs of dominance, I was more interested in checking that out as a peripheral
agree.
fan.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to know what's going on with the team. You want to be able to recognize a core. And I don't think that that's bad for the sport.
Yes, that dynasty is not that dynasty until they sign Kevin Durant. So like,
No, it was. I mean, I think Durant put them over the top.
Yes, so
and
that's
Durant went there because that already existed.
Yes, so that's what I was getting at. Like, I think there needs to be a balance. Like, it's somewhere in between. I don't think it is good for the league to have a Celtics situation necessarily. Although the Celtics are a little different because the players that they got rid of are players they acquired, not
Right.
players they drafted. But like, I think the movement is good, but I also think, yes, there needs to be opportunities, especially for homegrown talent, to stay with their teams. I like you said, I'm not a CPA. I don't know exactly the details of the NBA structure. Like, it would make sense if like players you drafted did not count towards these aprons or whatever. Like I think there's a balance somewhere in between. But I do think ultimately, like the drama that the complicated cap structure in the NBA causes would be good for the NHL.
I mean, I want it. That's the thing. Like, I think ultimately I say just for now, until we can figure out something better, stay with the hard cap that is just essentially what it is now. But I do like the thing of, if they're your own guy, like if you drafted them, then you can exceed by whatever.
Yeah.
Or something like, I've brought this up before, Major League Soccer has designated players where you can have, what's that?
So just pay them whatever they want.
Where you have 3 players who make whatever you want to pay them,
Rocks.
and then everybody else, you got a cap. You can't go above this. And I like the strategy element, though, of it, that like what Pete said made me think of this, which is like what Florida has right now. They can become a dynasty, but they don't just get to be one. They have to make the right decision within the cap, and they've got a perfect example right now. They would love to sign Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, and Aaron Ekblad. If they do all 3 of those things, maybe in 2 years, they've won 2 more cups. But also maybe in 2 years, something has happened that makes it seem like this team has no more runway, and they're now backed up and jammed up with all these contracts. And you'd think, man, what could have been if they just freed up that money? Like, winning is hard.
Yeah.
And I want to feel like when someone wins, they did something genius that we didn't see. And so far we feel that way about Bill Zito. And with a cap, we're going to keep feeling that way if he keeps winning. Without one, it's just, we'll just keep spending. And take away our future first-round picks because we've exceeded this apron or whatever. That's not as fun, and it's more confusing. So I'd say good on the cap stuff for now. We reserve the right to change our mind. And then the big one, like I said, we're bearing the lead. People are going to feel some kind of way about an 84-game regular season. I don't love it, but I'm not as furious as I feel people have been. And I haven't seen reactions yet, but I bet people are going to hate it.
It's a
I
big.
don't think it's necessary, but I mean,
Yeah.
like you're shortening the preseason. It's 2 games. It doesn't really like make me feel all that strongly. I'm curious, like how are you allocating those games? That to me is like the biggest question, and I've been banging this drum for a little while. I think the NHL needs to restructure the schedule to prioritize divisional games more because they're in a place where they're prioritizing the divisions in the playoffs instead of the regular season, which I do not agree with. I think you need more games against divisional opponents, and you need to build up those rivalries and build up those sort of, just like kind of those division opponents. And so if you're adding 2 games, like say that as a Bruins fan, if you're throwing 2 more games at me with the Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens, by all means, I'm for it.
That's a big, cool. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to get to game 84 and be like, oh, there were 2 more games there. I'm going to kind of, like, it's not going to mean anything to me. It will be annoying that, like, someone's going to set a new President's Trophy record, and they're going to be like, greatest team of all time, even though they have, like, the same points per game as the Bruins did like, a couple years ago. Like, stuff like that always annoys me when schedules get changed, but otherwise, who cares?
Cody Cece's saying, what's the big deal?
Yes,
I play 84 games all the time.
Yes, we'll finally get like an 86-game season.
Oh, I love that. Only thing I worry about, as always, is the health of the players.
Was the like veteran preseason limit a thing before?
No,
I mean, I feel like that
so.
was kind of maybe like a self-imposed thing. Like they ultimately weren't playing that much anyways. But I get why you have to do preseason, kind of.
But I mean, we're just talking about shifting games here.
Yeah.
Like for me, like if a player gets hurt in a game during the regular season, like game 1 of the regular season, because there's one less
86
preseason game,
hockey games. Yeah.
Who's to say that they're not going to get hurt in the last preseason game or whatever it is?
My thing is like, I don't really care about the games. I would rather them focus on like the structure in the sense that like when things start. Like, I think the summer needs to be rehauled. I don't like...
I feel pretty good about where we ended this year.
Yes, I agree. I think it being earlier this year. But I hate it. Like, last year, the quick turnaround between cup, draft, free agency. Like, I don't like that.
Too much.
NBA suffered from that this year. The NBA finals ended in, like, 3 days later?
Yeah.
Also, the draft was...
Why are we having day 1 of the draft on a fucking Thursday? Do it on
Wednesday,
a Friday.
right? It was yesterday.
Or Wednesday, yes.
Yeah.
Do it on a Friday.
Yeah.
Per Elliot Freeman, the new CBA could create a permanent e-bug to practice and travel with their NHL team. I don't like the e-bug practicing with the team. I want the e-bug to really still feel like it's out of left field.
I want the players to feel like the e-bug is out of left. I don't want them to know that guy.
Yeah, right, exactly. I want there to be
yeah.
some like who the fuck is in net.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Like you're in the Stanley Cup final
Plus,
playing game 5 or 6.
I definitely don't like them traveling. I like there being a arena specific guy, and then all of a sudden somebody who is employed by the Toronto Maple Leafs and has Toronto Maple Leafs gear is all of a sudden playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs for the fucking Seattle Kraken and shutting the Maple Leafs out. Like that's the kind of shit that I like.
Also, how much is this e-bug getting paid if they're full time with the team and they're traveling?
I feel like it's got its backup or bullpen catcher energy.
Yeah. Interesting.
Is it? I have a number in mind, but
I want my e-bugs to be working a full-time job and then being an e-bug.
I want this to feel like winning the lottery. Like I want this to feel like a fucking movie, like Mike or something, where all of a sudden they woke up one day and they were an NHL goalie, and like it's just a cool thing, not like this is their job.
Yeah, this one kind of stinks. I hate the
even though it's
one.
something that we see like 3 times every decade.
But that's why it's special.
But yeah, I know we'll never see it again.
NHL stands for No Fun League. Last thing before we wrap this up, and this has been a great show, just a few guys having a nice conversation. Sharks have placed Marc-Edouard Vlasic on unconditional waivers for the purposes of a buyout. I think anyone who thought about this saw it coming, but I think that no one really thought about it.
Nobody, yeah. I honestly, I was reminded like a week or two ago that Marc-Edouard Vlasic was still technically an active NHLer.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, right.
We're Alex Vlasic guys.
That's
We're
right.
also Marc-Edouard Vlasic guys. But
It's all in the same family.
okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you are subscribed everywhere on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on wherever you may be, on TikTok. We love you so much. Pete, tell the folks to amplify.
Amplify. That means you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can like this video. It's a thumbs up button right below the video player. Give that the nice thumbs up, bump. You can also leave a comment and do all that good stuff as DJ mentioned. That's called amplifying, and we very much appreciate it. We love you, and we will talk to you very soon.
We all silly like the mayor.